and good evening from wherever you're watching us from. We are live at Osinachi's channel, where we are bringing to you this live update on emotional intelligence. Actually, we have dropped a video about emotional intelligence a few days ago, but I deemed it necessary and fit to still go on live on the matter concerning emotional intelligence, because I realized that emotion is something that is always there with us. Therefore, I deem it necessary for us to interact about emotion and emotional intelligence. But before I move over to the before I move over to the discussion of emotional intelligence, I am looking at it from the perspective of defining emotion, because we are looking at strategies we can use to control emotion when it is not positive. Now, emotion is being defined, or is your body and mind way of reacting to something important that is happening to you. In other words, emotion is all about signals. Yeah, that is why we can also see it to be a mix of three things that is happening to you or that happens to us. And they are feelings, body response, thoughts, and action. On the ground of feeling, we look at internal experience, sadness, fear, joy, excitement. On the side of body response, we look at tears, smiling. Yeah, because most times you see that someone may be crying because maybe he or she lost beloved one. Most times people will ask the person not to cry, and it's very wrong. Yeah, crying is a way of pouring out emotion, is a way of expressing your feeling. Yeah, so having seen what emotion is all about, that whenever we talk about emotion, we are talking about your body and mind's way of reacting to something important that is happening to you. We are looking at it to be a kind of feeling, body response, your thought plus action. That is to say, what you do, what to do, what you are thinking about. So now let's look at what is meant by emotional intelligence. But before we proceed, make sure you have subscribed to this very channel. Always like, comment, and share on our videos. Yeah, because the channel is about to hit 5,000 subscribers in less than a month. And we cannot do this if you are not contributing, if you are not part of us. So we are urging you to subscribe to the channel. Please do that. And we are still on the discussion of emotion and emotional intelligence. So we are looking at what is meant by emotional intelligence. Well, we can look at emotional intelligence from a simple perspective of understanding and managing emotions, more especially your own emotion and other people's emotion. But from Daniel Kahneman definitions of emotional intelligence, He defines it as the ability to recognize, understand, and manage our own emotions while influencing and recognizing other people's emotions. You see, when we come to talk about emotional intelligence, you begin to see that this is the application of intelligence towards managing emotion. Yeah, because most times you see that one can be having an emotion of sadness, fear, anger, and all what have you. Now we are looking at it that if all these things comes into your mind, how then do you manage it? That's why we are applying emotional intelligence, and that is why we have defined emotional intelligence as the ability to recognize, understand, and manage our own emotions while influencing and managing other people's emotions, which means that for us to manage emotions effectively, we have to, take other people's emotion into cognizance. Yes, the ability to manage our emotion and manage other people's emotion, that makes us emotional intelligence. Yeah, from what Daniel Coleman has laid down, we have some key principles that can help us to manage this very particular emotional intelligence. One of them is by understanding emotional intelligence. Yeah, if you are emotional intelligence, the uh, probability for you to control emotion is there. If you are emotional intelligence, the ability for you to manage emotion, control emotion, make emotion not to escalate is always there. He outlined that very particular point as one of the measures you can use and manage emotions when feelings, body response, thoughts, all these things are coming up within your mind. All you need to do is to understand that you need to apply emotional intelligence. Yeah, by understanding what emotional intelligence is all about, because it's only when you manage your own emotion, recognize and manage your own emotion, you can, manage other people's emotion by making sure that you are putting them into consideration. Now, outside that, let's look at self-awareness. Self-awareness is one of the factors you need to consider in trying to manage emotion. Yeah, it is under emotional intelligence. If you are aware of self awareness, if you know more about self awareness, you manage emotion. Yeah, you manage emotion, you put emotion under control. In fact, Daniel Coleman puts self awareness as crucial in managing our emotion, and you can use this self-awareness to make sure that the emotion doesn't escalate, make sure that there is a positive outcome from emotion, because emotion is something, that has to, cause a lot of issues in life if it is not well taken care of. So that's why Daniel Coleman is saying all this, that we should understand the meaning of emotional intelligence. We should also have that self-awareness that we are angry or things that are making our emotions to escalate. We should be aware of all these things so that we can be able to manage this very emotion. And this goes back to the definition of what Daniel Coleman is saying. Ability to recognize and understand is very crucial and is also important. Then outside that, we still have developing of empathy. All these are strategies, all these are key ways you can use and manage emotion. When emotion is not on the positive side, you also have to, put yourself together by trying to actively listen and make sure that you give room for other people's perspectives, because it is when you give room for other people's perspectives that individuals can connect deeply, and try as much as possible to respond compassionately. So, on trying to understand how emotion works, we need emotional empathy. Yes, we need to be in someone's shoes. We need to support, which will enhance collaboration, which will help for one's emotion to balance. Now, don't forget that we are still live and direct at Osinachi's channel, where we are bringing this very particular broadcast with you. Now, the time now is exactly 9:26 Nigerian time. So if you are just joining us, do let us know from where you are joining us from. Let us know from the comment section. You can also give us likes. Don't forget to share this very particular broadcast. We are discussing emotional intelligence, and we are looking at a lot of factors that can make us to manage emotion. It's an interactive section, and it's also a live broadcast we are bringing to you through this very channel. Now, I have mentioned understanding emotional intelligence. I have also mentioned self-awareness. I have also mentioned developing empathy. The fourth one is mindfulness. Is a way of enhancing emotional awareness. Mindfulness is all about paying attention to what is happening to your emotion. Paying attention to what is happening to your emotion is very important. That is to say, feelings, body response, thoughts, all these things happens to your emotion. And if you can recognize them, if you can understand them, then you will be able to manage emotion. You'll be able to say that you have emotional intelligence. But inability to do that, it will take us to number 5, which is regulating emotion. Regulating emotion. Yeah, emotion need to be regulated, because inability to recognize when emotions are escalating is a problem. Yeah, it's a problem. But when you recognize and understand when emotion is escalating, you can now employ strategies to manage them, which will lead to preventing negative outcomes. When you manage emotions, you prevent negative outcomes. Regulating emotions is very essential, very, very essential. These are the points being pointed out by Daniel Coleman. Now, he made another point here, number 6, building strong relationship. This is also important because it has to do with investing in connection with others. By the time you invest in connection with others, there will be a room for discussion. There will be a room for response, because most emotional states today are not being taken care of. That is why people enter into trauma in some psychological and other related psychology issues. They move into depression because most of these their emotional states are not being interacted, are not being shared, because most times emotion, when it is negative, it can be controlled. When emotion is negative, it can be controlled, in the sense of the fact that if there is expression, if there is a discussion, if there is a way of trying to open up or speak out, some issues that should have escalated will be managed. So in all this, we are still expecting comments from the comment section. Do let us know. We are still live and direct, where we are discussing about emotional intelligence. and we are trying to see how we can minimize a whole lot of negative outcomes that comes from anger, fear, anxiety. We really want to make sure all these are being managed when someone is not in good emotional mood. How do you manage all this? How do you make sure it doesn't result to conflicts? Because in emotional intelligence, we are also meant to handle conflicts wisely. Conflicts must be wisely